You guys like my backwards hat? I'm turning 29 soon, so I'm trying to make sure I still can relate to the youths. So it's official. I am a coding bootcamp dropout. If you saw my last video, you know what's been happening, what's happened to my coding bootcamp, why there have been major issues, and exactly how the bootcamp itself completely fell apart. If you haven't seen that already, you should definitely check it out. And why don't you hit that subscribe button real quick? It's free and you get free tech content every single week. But in any case, that leaves me here. I went through 3 months of a coding bootcamp, and while I learned a lot, I am in a predicament. After all, any illusion that I had of being able to rely on a coding bootcamp to get me into that full-time, high-paying tech job is gone. Fortunately, I had already talked myself mostly out of this sentiment before everything went down the drain with General Assembly. So I wasn't expecting this to be my guaranteed ticket into the industry, but still, I had plenty of expectations about what I would learn during that time. And since I dropped out and General Assembly canceled the cohort altogether, the hope of that happening the first time around is gone. So as of today, I have a couple of options. First off, General Assembly offered me a steep discount if I signed back up for one of their cohorts. They did this for all the students. In fact, they offered me half off. So this would equate to quite a bit of savings if I was willing to roll the dice again on General Assembly. I don't see this as a bad option if I was able to remove the context that I have of working with them. But I can't. If you came up to me 6 months ago and told me that I could have half off of a GA cohort, I would have jumped on that like white on rice. I never got that phrase, by the way. You know there's brown rice too, right? Hell, there's even red rice. Why don't we say like red on rice? You know, at one point in my life, I was so poor that I bought some basmati rice at the grocery store and made just that for dinner. And I thought I was super fancy because I had a bowl of rice with a fancy name. I shared that plain bowl of rice with salt with a chick that I was really into at the time, feeling like I had really pulled something off. Anyway, enough of my daring romantic escapades. My life is falling apart, and that's what we're here to talk about. Seriously though, I have a lot of issues figuring out how to approach this now. I have a couple things that I could do. Half off of General Assembly is not going to do it for me. Working with General Assembly once things started going downhill was terrible. It was nearly impossible to get in touch with anybody that could help, and communication was so infrequent that it would have been impossible to get anything done if myself and another student of mine hadn't vehemently crawled up their rear end to get a response on a nearly daily basis. It was terrible. I wouldn't trust them with another one of my dollars at this point. Speaking of that, I wouldn't be able to take this option anyways because I didn't sign their refund agreement, which required me to sign an NDA saying that I wouldn't talk about this whole experience with you guys. So they have 4K from me already for the subpar experience. I'm not interested in doubling that amount of money just to take another chance on General Assembly. My second option is to self-study and try to go this alone for a while. I don't hate this option, but it sounds a bit lonely and I'm not sure I'll be able to make reasonable progress alone without having some kind of regular help with someone, or at least have access to people that are studying the same thing roughly at the same point in time that I'm studying it. This is Colby. All right, excuse me. That was actually the CEO of the company that I've been working for calling to offer me a full-time position. So that was a good call. Hopefully things turn out favorably on that end. So hooray. Other than the things that we've already talked about, that leaves me with a third option, which is pursuing regular mentorship with another person. Having a mentor is awesome. I've been recommending it since I started making YouTube videos the better part of a year ago. I've had several over the last 6 months, and while most of them have not been the long-term solution that I'm looking for, they've all helped me immensely. One mentor that I had, Eric Crawford, was not technical at all, but had a ton of experience as a project manager who does a lot of his own organic outreach. I learned more from him about how to connect with people on the internet than I have learned from anybody in my entire life. I can seriously credit him specifically to me getting my first job because of the prospecting methods that he taught me. The mentorship move is a little bit risky though, because not every mentor is the fit that you need. So I feel like the best approach is to find a balance between between the two. There are some other requirements I have related to the curriculum, so let's take a look at that. First off, I'm a bit relieved that General Assembly fell through because of the curriculum specifically. There's a couple reasons for this. First reason has to do with my talk that I had with Nathan Schrader, who is a great follow on LinkedIn, by the way. I had a meeting with him a couple of months ago and confided in him when I decided to drop General Assembly. He's a successful developer who attended a coding bootcamp and got a job out of it relatively quickly a few years ago. The main thing he drove home with me is that as a self-studier, you want to have one sharp knife, not a cutting block full of dull knives. He also told me not to go on the internet and complain about my experience at a coding boot camp. So sorry, bud. Sorry, buddy. I can only listen to so much advice at once. So what's my approach? Well, if any of you know the curriculum at General Assembly, it is extensive. It includes front end with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React. Then they go on to the back end with Node.js, MongoDB, SQL, and Python with Django. You heard that right. You learn the MERN stack plus Python in a matter of 3 to 6 months. Intense? Yes. Optimal? No, definitely not. Now that I'm not in it anymore, I can see how crazy it was to attempt to pursue these all at once. Not that it's not possible, but I just think to do this is to ignore Nathan's warnings about having a ton of dull knives. I'd rather focus on one subset of development, use that as a way to get into the field, then transition over time to use the other end or both at the same time. One thing that my supervisor said to me the other day is that there are no junior full stack roles, meaning there's no employees that are truly looking for somebody who knows a lot of technologies but with very little depth. And I agree, especially in this economy. I have some work to do. I'm basically going to start over. Not literally, but I have some refinement to do that I missed the first time around. Then I have a little JavaScript review to do. I feel pretty decent about my JavaScript experience. There's some things I need to nail down a bit more, like using promises, working with APIs, and implementing asynchronous programming in JavaScript. But overall, I'm at a pretty decent place with JS. From there, I really don't know what to do. Honestly, the reason I got started at Coding Bootcamp in the first place is that you don't know what you don't know. Being in this position can often make you subject to flashy advertisements about the next course out there, and get pretty distracting pretty quickly. What I do know is that I need to quadruple down on the fundamentals of programming in general. What I learned from General Assembly is that you can't learn everything in 12 weeks, or 6 months for that matter. Instead, I want to take the long-term methodical approach to learning so that I can build a sustainable career that will last for decades. So I have to find a learning environment that is conducive to that approach. Ideally, one that has structured curriculum and access to help from TAs or mentors when needed. So that's where I'm at. I'm nervous, to be honest with you. I've priced out some mentors and it's not going to be cheap. Yes, it'll be cheaper than going to an online coding bootcamp, but I won't have that false sense of security that I can rest easy because I signed up for something thousands of other people have signed up for. I know it's a lie, but that doesn't stop it from being there. Now, instead, I really only have myself to blame for succeeding or failing. I either do the damn thing or I don't. Final note, I would be remiss to say I'm in a more fortunate position than some of my classmates. I found a job before everything went south. Things are going pretty well there, as we know. I just got a call to go full-time. Hopefully that works out. And I have the opportunity to use my skills to grow into a new position within the company, or worst case, use my experience on a resume to land my next position. This makes things a little less shaky than before, and I'm very grateful for that. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video. There's more videos coming very soon, and wish me luck.